Hey guys, welcome back to Gadget Nation. I'm your host Zach and Selamat Merdeka, and this is Top Apps. And today we've got a very special guest, Liao Ike Peng, and he's got an app that's all about blood that's not only useful but also a benefit to humanity. So, welcome to the show. What's your app all about?
Okay, this is actually a blood donation app. So what it does is actually notify people, the user itself, when there is a blood donation campaign around. And the second thing itself is to actually help out organization like hospital when they actually in need of the blood, like Pusat Darah Negara (PDN). It will actually give a shout out on the notification site saying that they need a certain kind of blood.
So it's basically to help people find blood donation sites and stuff like that for people who really are into that. So currently it's out on iOS and Android. Is there a difference between the two versions?
Yeah, it is. The app actually started out with the main version is on the iOS, but on the Android we have an version on the Android which is considered the basic versions.
So how has the reception been on the Malaysian marketplace for this app?
This app basically we have around 1,000 plus considered users on the iOS side. But for the Android side, it's mainly below 1,000.
So, as far as I know, I've never heard of anything like this before. Are you the first to do this in Malaysia?
In Malaysia, yes, but in the world, no. There are actually a few apps out there in US or in Europe itself, but those apps are mainly strategically wise for their own country itself.
Right, so it's always annoying when you see the most amazing app and it's for New York, or it's just for a single city or a country that's not Malaysia. So it's always nice for developers here to bring this sort of stuff into Malaysia and the Malaysian marketplace. You mentioned that these sort of apps have existed before, but where did your inspiration come from for really pushing this app out onto the Malaysian marketplace? Where did the ideas really come from?
How do I come up with the idea is basically, if you actually notice how the hospital actually carry out campaign, normally at around the Taman, they will actually put up a banner saying, okay, there is a blood donation campaign over the weekend at around this maybe shopping complex or the other building or the next shopping complex itself. So the idea came about is, when I actually look through some of the banners sometimes, in my heart I say that, hey, okay, I want to, this weekend I'm free. Why not, I would like to actually donate blood. But then again, come the weekend, I totally forgotten about it. When I passed through using the same route to go back home, and I noticed the banner again, I was thinking to myself that, hey, why not, if there is this app to actually notify me when there is a blood campaign around, that I wouldn't have actually missed the blood donation campaign around.
You mentioned a few other parties just now, so who are you actually collaborating with this app?
Okay, for the collaboration part, in fact, this app was actually done during the hackathon itself, carried out by DG. In fact, what DG does, they actually managed to get PDN, Pusat Darah Negara, the director, Dr. Norris as well as to get a few developers to come up with the app.
So how did that turn out for you guys?
That's how we got this app. In fact, we have, I think, mainly 6 to 8 groups of hackers come up with their own version, and this is the version that actually won the best app.
Have you noticed any challenges really pushing this app into the Malaysian marketplace? I mean, what are people liking? What are people disliking about this sort of app? Have you noticed anything?
Yeah, one of the key things itself is the exposure itself. Again, there is a lack of exposure. Even though how cool the app is, how it can actually help Malaysians now, but if there is no exposure and no one actually talks about it, again, people wouldn't have known about it.
So you've been a regular blood donor for how long now?
Since 18 years old.
Since 18 years old. So you've been going quite regularly to blood donation.
Yeah. So every year, at least I actually donate a little, or if not, it's every 2 years as well. 2 years once. Yeah.
So this app's pretty close to home for you.
Yeah.
So you'll be using it yourself, really.
Yeah. So that's how I actually come up with the idea about it, because the first thing itself, for myself, when there is a campaign, sometimes I do want to actually donate a blood, but totally forgotten about it when it comes to that particular day as well. And of course, what it can actually help up is, let's say, for instance, if PDN, they like to actually increase their blood bank itself, especially during the festive time. There is always a drop in the terms of the blood at the blood bank as well, or any cases that sometimes there is an emergency or accidents people need a certain kind of blood, this app can actually give out a notification or a shout out to anyone who actually needs some help in terms of consider blood donation.
Right, that sounds really useful. So, besides winning the DG Hackathon, I've heard you've also won an award. Could you tell us about that?
Oh, it was the Prime Minister Award for the considered the best idea. This app, Social Blood Drive.
So, how did it feel winning that award?
Pretty consider happy and glad in a way. One of the things itself is it validate that I could actually have an idea and to commercialize it in a way itself that I wanted.
So, what's next for you?
I myself is an entrepreneur, and one thing about it is with this the competition and with this Prime Minister Award, at least is validate in terms of idea that I can actually come up with a good ideas for consider for my products.
So your app is called Redy. Could you describe how the user experience is? So it's called Redy, R-E-D-Y,
Redy,
right?
and it's a Redy Social Blood Drive.
Could you describe how the users would interact with this? Like, what's the process from downloading the app? Once they load it up, what do they see? How do they use it?
Okay, I'm going to show the iOS version. First of all, basically the user itself need to actually register it. And when you actually register it through your email password, of course, you can actually key in what type of blood consider you have as well. Not only that, state where you are from. Then once you actually register, okay, your database will be actually inside. The key things about it is this app act as a notification for those main user itself. If let's say any blood donation campaign around, they will actually get notified. Of course itself, it also has some informations like, for instance, donors itself, they like to actually know certain kind of informations, like for instance, some advice, what are the privilege they can have when they actually donate the blood, okay, in terms of the storage, what they actually use for. And also it acts as a input to let us know how long have we actually donated the blood.
So it really is an all-in-one sort of app.
Yeah.
So it really covers all those bases.
And one thing good about it is during the hackathon, as I actually mentioned earlier, DG actually get hold of PDN, Dr. Nonis from Pusat Darah Negara. So actually this app in terms of the data is actually pretty considered running in real time when actually Pusat Darah Negara, they have any event, they can actually just put it and people will actually receive the information.
It goes straight to the consumer.
Yeah.
Right,
because
right.
Most of during the hackathon itself, PDN did raise out things that they actually need to have, and we actually incorporated most of the things into the app.
Right. So for you guys at home, if you haven't heard of Redy's Social Blood Drive, go check it out. It's on iOS and Android, though the iOS version has a few extra features, so be aware of that. But in general, an app like this is just amazingly useful to have. Donating blood is a great thing, and stuff like this just makes the world a little bit of a better place. So thank you so much for coming on. It's great seeing you.
Thank you.